Welcome to Porch Play Chat, sponsored by the American Association for the Child's Right to Play, or our shortened title, IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association, and as part of our work to support play, we've introduced these Porch Play Chats. If you go to our website at ipausa.org, up in the top right-hand corner, you can friend us, follow us, and subscribe to our Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And magically, every Monday morning, a new Porch Play Chat will appear in your feed. I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm president of IPA USA. And with me on the porch today is Kevito Clark. Kevito, welcome. Kevito is the founder of Love, Peace, and Games, Play It Forward, which is a 501c3 that facilitates free and donation-based community programming throughout Los Angeles. And the work that they're doing is just amazing. His work answers the calling for the increased need for third spaces that promote health, wellness, and the preservation of Black family heirlooms. Love, Peace, and Spades has served as a hush harbor, which I want you to define for us, hosting over 7,000 attendees in less than 2 years, and has gone on to be recognized in the LA Times Travel Weekly, Fox 11, KCAL News, and more. Kevito and his team have successfully created a space for intergenerational communion and education through gameplay by forming partnerships with local Black-owned businesses, educators, game designers, and more. Oh my goodness. Kevito, I am so interested in talking to you about how you've done this and how you create those community partnerships and then what happens with them. And you're muted, just so you know. There you go.
So thank you for having me on. This is me taking a conscientious step forward into public speaking. I'm not much of a talker, but thank you for having me on the show. And I guess to answer the question, my background is mostly in journalism. And so when I moved here from New York City, I came on the auspice of having a job in that space. And everywhere I've gone, I've always tried to find community that plays spades because that's one of my favorite games. And there would always be some sort of obstacle or a feeling or a trepidation about playing or not knowing how to play or having played with someone and them making them feel a certain kind of way. And so prior to moving here, I was one of the organizers for the Leimert Park Juneteenth Festival here in South Central Crenshaw area. And the community that I was a part of, they're all producers in one way or another, creatives at heart. And so I learned from them about how to produce an event. And so I had this idea, and they put me in positions to win, introducing me to where we have our residency at the Line Hotel with Jenny Wright. And that's a long way of saying that we were able to build a community specifically because of the solution that was needed to address the problem regarding having spaces to play, feeling safe in those places, and knowing that you're not going to be looked at as other when you go to those spaces to play. And then to zero in on that a little bit more, specifically with what I call culturally rich games, spades, bid whist, tunk, dominoes, having those 4 games magnified so people can learn how to play and not feel like they are going to lose their proverbial black card if they don't know how to.
Oh, well, and I don't know what some of those games are. Spades, I played all the time when I was younger, and hearts. I love those card games. I don't know what some of those others are. So I'm curious. I know what dominoes is, and I know dominoes, but I don't know what tonk is, what bid whist is. So I'm curious
Sure.
to to know what those games are because they sound interesting. And then I'm really curious to know how you went about creating those spaces in local areas so people didn't have to travel far probably, and how almost what the climate of that of each of the gameplays was in those
Mm-hmm.
hands-on
Mm-hmm.
learning opportunities that are so rich in interaction with each
Mm-hmm.
other.
So this is a shout out to Yasmin Monet Watkins. She's our Bidwiz coach at our monthly events, and Bidwiz is the mother, father, parent of spades. If I were to kind of make it shorthand, Bidwiz is chess to spades checkers. And one of our one of our rooted issues with trying to get this education initiative off the ground is to kind of zero in on the history of spades because Bidwiz has such a rich history, pre-civil rights era. Pullman porters, they were playing this game as they were
Mm.
going across the country on trains, and that's how the game exploded in popularity. But for the younger generation, it was confusing to them or complicated to them. So spades was the answer to Bidwiz's complicated play style. Most people would say spades is complicated too, but I think it's just because of how the game is structured. But the history of spades is a bit of a mystery that we hope to solve by not only utilizing modern day surveys to kind of get what attendees, players, and the like, how they learned how to play and where they learned how to play, but kind of delve into the rooted history of how spades actually came to be. Because there's a debate between Black Army men who took the game Bidwiz and purported into spades, and then there's also the conversation of Black college students in Cincinnati doing the same thing. So there's a little bit of a mystery there. And to answer your question about Tunk, Tunk is a game that combines knock rummy and Kankian, which is like still you use the 52 card deck, but the goal is to meld your cards into groups and sequences to win. It's a very fast-paced game, and it's one of the older games too. It's especially if you know how to play a rummy style game. But it's a game that I want to say past a certain age, no one
Mhm.
really knows how to play, and that's one of the reasons why we call these games, in addition to the culturally rich games, we call them Black Family Heirlooms. These are things that we want to pass on to the next generation. So you don't have moments where someone's coming into a group setting and everybody's playing a game and they're like, "What is that?" And everybody's like, "What? You don't know?" So we just want to kind of bridge a gap that might happen, well, that has been happening, and kind of restructure the conversation. And so, your last point in terms of how those interplay moments happen within the community and how on a local area we are able to communicate these games. For example, our second year anniversary was this past December on December 21st. And we've now going into our third year. But the second year found us doing a lot of activations outside of our residency. And so we had what we call Black Family Game Night here in Crenshaw. We invited all ages to play. We had coaches for all four games, and they were able to teach everyone from ages 8 to around 65 who didn't know how to play those four games that I mentioned earlier. And then there was a free play where people got a chance to build relationships and meet new people that way. We did the Juneteenth festival the year prior and weren't able to do it last year due to complications, but we ended up also teaching people how to play spades at Cal State LA, which is a university here in Los Angeles, during Black History Month. And it was a mixed array of students who all knew about the game. Some even played the game on apps, but didn't know how to play amongst each other. And so that was something that was really beautiful. And then part of our initiative as well, just overall, is to generate business for local Black-owned businesses in the area. And so we would partner up with the Salt Eaters, which is a local bookstore in Inglewood, and host what we call pull-up and plays, where it's essentially like a pop-up. We pop up and people show up and offer discounts on certain elements of the store. In this case, you get a percentage off of purchasing books or merchandise associated with the bookstore. We did one where we went to a Black-owned hotel in Venice Beach, and that was for our Culture and Games Festival called Love, Peace, and Spades Day. And we gifted a attendee a free hotel stay for one night. And so they were able to now see something that most people don't really consider in terms of ownership and property, that sat right there on the beach and had a beautiful rooftop that we were on, so you could see the sunrise and the sunset. And
Hmm.
I think that interplay between our audience and the players therein empowers them to not only build relationships with people that they may not have met anywhere else, but also to play games that some people may have a familiarity with and others may want to know more of, and have that language established where people can teach each other without even needing a coach at some points.
So I think the beauty of the games that you're introducing to people move us away from screens
Mhm,
and apps
mhm,
and re-immerse people in social interaction and learning from elders if the
mhm,
elders had played those games and the younger people don't know how to play that game. But I think the beauty and the Caucasian culture could learn this too. When I have students who are very diverse, both in age and in ethnicity and culture, in my college classrooms, because I'm a play person, when it's time to do something like we're going to talk about gross motor and fine motor development, right?
mhm,
We play. And so I take them outside. We have jump ropes, we have jacks, we have um, Chinese jump ropes. I don't know if you ever did those when you were in elementary school. And my students don't know how to play those games
mhm,
because they've been lost over time because they never had the opportunity. Their recess was shorter
mhm,
when they went to school versus when I went to school. And so they didn't have time to learn new games. Hide and seek, we all knew because we play that in the neighborhood. But any of these other really important socially interactive games that you would do with somebody else are gone
mhm.
from their experiences. And so I am outside teaching how to play jacks. And I don't do jump rope anymore because I'm too old to do that. But some other students have done jump rope and done where you have the two jump ropes, going at
Mhm,
one time and they're jumping in. And what is fascinating to me is that when we're outside doing these things, students from everywhere in the college come out and say, "Can we play?" And I'm like, "Of course you can play." And so then have you ever played this game? And then they're teaching other people games
mhm,
that are active and interactive and don't involve screens. So this whole concept of what you're doing is is so important in so many ways that we get people back to interacting with each other, that you have coaches there to support people in learning something new so they don't feel like they're stupid, right, and not knowing this game. And then people are able to build and reconnect over and over again because they have now learned this game and they can
mhm,
teach it to other people in their community. I was just overwhelmed with the amount of of benefit to what you're doing. And I think other cultures could learn from that to be able to reconnect with their culture and be able to share those cultural um, games with their children and grandchildren. And oh, I just thought it was amazing. So I really appreciate you.
No, I appreciate you saying that because one of the things, one of my partners who's on the board, her name is Camille Davis, who helped come up with the phrase Black Family Heirlooms for these games. We noted that we wanted to share retained generational knowledge. We wanted to be able to pass on the things that we have learned or that others have learned to the next generation. That's why we model our game nights as intergenerational communions that incorporate music, tech, education, and play. There's a show that I was really late to. It's called Shameless, and it's a funny show. It's different, but it's a funny show. And there was one season where the character, who's a black woman who's married to a white man, gets invited to the proverbial cookout. So she's going to the cookout, and everybody starts to do the electric slide, and she finds herself not remembering how to do the electric slide. And so she's embarrassed and she goes back to her mother and she's telling that story to her mother about how she didn't remember the electric slide. Her mom's like, "What? I knew I taught you how to do the electric slide and how could you forget and XYZ." And it was more comedic than I'm making it to sound like, but the root of it is that there's quite a few people who do not know how to play these games, and to the point that there's so much ingrained in the screens that if they choose to learn how to play the game, they're playing it through an app, and it's
Mhm.
not really giving them the full
Benefit.
experience of the
Mhm.
play style that you would do playing with others. And so, a former colleague of mine, her name is Dr. Natalie Awadeha, she has said, like, the one reason why spades or these games are very culturally rich is because you don't have to plug them in. You can take them wherever you go because it's only cards. You can pull out and play amongst anybody to change the nature of an event. Let's say it's boring and people don't know what to do, or you're trying to fill in some time. You can pull out a deck. I always carry a card deck with me. So it's like, it's a great tool to just be an icebreaker.
Mhm.
It can be a great tool to service a way to play with others who aren't familiar with the game. And to your earlier point about like sharing these conversations with others, I think one of the important things that we have with our education initiative, which is called Play It Forward, is that it's based in the idea of not only sharing these retained generational knowledge in terms of the games and the play styles, but connecting people with the roots and history that go behind these games.
Mhm. I just think it's amazing. And so the other thing that was very intriguing to me, uh, my husband and I have 350 board games
Mhm.
in our basement, and we socialize with people at game days and play these board games where we're all at the table, all working with a hands-on experience, having conversation, laughing, enjoying ourselves. And it's a culturally rich environment where people are learning a new game or they're used to that game and now we're playing it again. And so those kinds of board games are also rich in that sharing and communion with other people. And so that's why your whole thing about and card games, I mean, card decks are cheap. You can, anybody can probably buy a deck of cards. That this is such a not everybody can afford to buy board games, but there's lots of people who have board games that you can play with. In fact, my husband teaches a new board game every month at the library down the street from us. And he has young people and their parents and older generations who all come to learn how to play a new game, and then the library buys the game so that they can check out the game and go home and
Hmm.
play it, which is
Hmm.
all another way of getting kids off of screens and into this interactive hands-on experience. So just so many lessons of how you've developed this group apply in so many different ways that I'm just truly fascinated by it.
Yeah, so that's in part we talked about this offline, but that's why I had the pleasure of working with Dr. Corliss Outley at Clemson University. We brought in a couple other people who are members of our nonprofit board, and our goal with Play It Forward is to ingrain what you learn at our game nights through Spades Academy into community centers, libraries, universities, big brother, big sister organizations, because what we want to establish is that, well, here in LA, there's the LA 84 Foundation. They host the Play Equity Fund. And the Play Equity Fund is rooted into movement play. So running, jumping, catching, those sort of things. And Play It Forward is to make the debate of that what we're pitching is also inclusive of play.
Mhm.
That you have to utilize your mental capacity to learn how to count cards and to your communication skills to build relationships with people. It may not be one where you're running for a long period of time, but you are getting up, leaving your homestead, coming to a place which we consider a hush harbor, which is basically, how can I put it? I guess this is more so back into when it was like the antebellum South, and enslaved Black Americans would gather in secret to practice their religion away from the watchful eyes of slave owners. And so we know as an element of play that within our community, it's tough to go anywhere to kind of do those styles or to kind of facilitate those moments because you don't know if someone's going to call the police on you. You don't know if it's going to be something that causes a distraction where other people try to impart themselves into the space where we're not inviting them into. And so
Mhm.
we consider these game nights hush harbors so that people can come and feel safe and know that they're in a place where they don't have to worry about being othered and can freely express themselves, whether it's that they don't know how to play or whether that they want to learn how to play, whether they want to brush up on skills, whether they are an expert and feel like they want to just break bread with people who look just like them. We feel like this is an element that we can then take to Play Equity Fund or to universities or community centers or libraries and have that particular conversation where we know that the next generation has a place to go. And even if they already go to these places, they have something that takes them away from the technology of the moment and kind of ground them in the experience of knowing who their neighbors are, who their community members are, who their friends and family are even.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so then before we close out, I just want to share another opportunity for you. Sorry, I've been talking for 5 hours, so my voice is kind of going. But one of the things that IPA USA just was awarded is Screen Free Week. It's been done by Fair Play,
Hmm.
which is uh, really focused on how commercialism impacts children's beliefs and values and how I only want to buy the cereal in the grocery store that has whatever new character on it, right? So it's the commercialism and the screens that are um, so impactful on and interfering with children's play because
Hmm.
now when parents say go play, sometimes children are going to the screens.
Hmm.
And so that week you can do screen free week anytime, but it would also be a great opportunity to embed in your events so that you can say this is a way to be screen free and to get back to that social relationship. So I'll send you that stuff too. I have lots to send you. Okay. So any final thoughts, Kevito, about the wonderful work that you're doing in LA?
Yes. So I want to thank everybody listening for joining us for this conversation. I would love for you all to support Love, Peace, and Games, play it forward. We're officially a 501c3. Your support and donations help us to keep our events free. We are most likely the only free game night in Los Angeles. And through the research, through our surveys, we're looking to know if we are the only free donation-based game night in the country. We will also be having our monthly events at the Line Hotel, which is 3515 Wilshire Boulevard in Koreatown, Los Angeles, California, every first Wednesday of the month from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. And by the time this audio is released, we would have been hopefully at USC's Gear Fest, which is a student-led festival, teaching people how to play there, as well as our upcoming Black Family Game Nights for Black History Month and Black Women's History Month, which is in April. Thank you again. Appreciate the time, Deborah. And you can follow us on platforms of Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok at Love, Peace, and Spades. That's LovePeaceandSpade as in David, ES. And our website is lovepeaceandspades.com.
Perfect. All of that is wonderful. And I'll put that in the YouTube description as well so people can find you. So stay right there while I close this out.
Okay.
To learn more about IPA USA, please visit our website at ipausa.org. And until next time, keep on playing.